Could one Big 12 team actually drop out of the conference in a couple of years because of their financial struggles and because of the upcoming House settlement that all Power 4 teams are facing? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this episode, as one college athletic director has spoken out about his school's situation. And we're going to talk about that. I'll give you my thoughts on it right after this word from one of my channel sponsors. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident, are fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians, because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up, and welcome to this episode of Couz's Corner, your home for top shelf news and analysis around the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Big 12. On tap in this episode, we're talking about the Big 12, specifically one team in the Big 12, and one team whose AD recently did an interview talking about their financial struggles. Who are we talking about? The Iowa State Cyclones and their AD, Jamie Pollard. Jamie Pollard recently went on a show called Spotlight with Elijah Moore and sat down and did an interview and answered some really good questions by Mr. Moore. I want to give Mr. Moore a shout out. Did a great job in this interview. I will leave a link to the interview, to the show, in the description of this video. I will also leave a link to an article in Heartland College Sports where I actually first found out about this interview. And I'm going to share a few quotes or pieces from that article with you as we go through here. But Pollard was asked basically about, the upcoming House settlement, which is where each school will likely have to pay their student athletes up to $20 to $20.5 million a year in revenue of their athletic revenue. They're going to have to share that with their student athletes. And that is a kind of an albatross hanging around the neck of some of these schools. But if you want to compete at the Power 4 level, you have to pay it. You don't have a choice. You can opt out. But if you opt out, you won't be able to compete. You won't be able to get recruits. And at some point, you may not even be allowed to be in the Power. It may come to that at some point. But right now, it's all about competing. And Jamie Pollard was asked about that specifically. He was asked about, Iowa State, their specific situation, and he gave very poignant, very direct answers. I love Jamie Pollard. I love his directness. I always respect his honesty. He's one of the best ADs in the business, in my opinion. He has done a fantastic job with the athletic department of Iowa State. I mean, they're doing great right now, arguably the best in their school history when you look at their two major sports. And a lot of that is because of Jamie Pollard's leadership. But I also love his candidness and his honesty in interviews and stuff like that when it comes to NIL and the portal and all these other things. So let's go ahead and talk about this article. I'm going to pull it up and we'll kind of go through it together. This is not the whole article. Again, I'll leave a link to it in the description box. But it says Iowa State does not have the $20 million, Pollard says. But if we don't pay it for this coming year, we've got big problems, right? So we're going to pay it. The article says the reported $20 million investment that schools will adopt isn't a one-time thing, though. It's going to be an annual expenditure, according to Pollard. That is the crux of Iowa State's most significant issue going forward. Pollard goes on to say, now, because of tremendous financial discipline and everything we've worked on over the last 20 years, our athletics program had a pretty substantial cash reserve that we built up. And we used that reserve during COVID, so we didn't cost Iowa State. We didn't cost the student body. We didn't cost the Board of Regents a dime to get through COVID, Pollard continued. The University of Iowa athletics program got a $60 million loan from the university. Now, they haven't paid a dime of that back yet. Now, that to me is a little bit of a poke at Iowa there, right? Their biggest rival. I love that. Now, they haven't paid a dime of that back yet, but they got a $60 million loan. We did not take out a loan. We funded it from our reserves. He says we can't fund the $20 million. In about 2 years, we'll be out of the reserve. So in about 2 years, Jamie Pollard and the Iowa State Cyclones, primarily probably his bosses, the president and the Board of Regents, they will have to make a decision in about 2 years. When they run out of the reserves, what do? How do they pay that $20 million? Or do they pay the $20 million? That's where we're going to go as we get through this. He says, or it says, the article says, and here's the scary part for Iowa State athletics. Unless they find a way to sustainably provide those revenue sharing funds, they'd be forced to make some drastic changes. So Iowa State University will be faced with an athletics program with a huge annual deficit, Pollard said, if it wants to stay in the Big 12 and if it wants to have a P4 athletics department. Now, we can decide. We just want to have an athletic program like Northern Iowa, but that's going to have a huge economic impact on the state, on central Iowa, on the city of Ames, and on this institution. So that's the problem that we're staring at. Fortunately, it sounds like there could be a feasible solution for the Cyclones, and it's something that's already been implemented elsewhere in the Power Four. So before we get to the solution, Jamie Pollard right here says in this interview, Iowa State has a decision to make. Do they want to remain a Power Four school, or do they want to drop down a level and be closer to what Northern Iowa is? If they do that, though, there's a huge economic impact to not only the school, but the entire surrounding area, even the state for that matter. You're not going to get as many people to come to games, which is going to hurt the local businesses. It's going to hurt enrollment because, as we know, it's the front porch of your university, your football team, your men's basketball team. It's the front porch of university. And if you're a Power Four program playing at a higher level, you attract more students. And Pollard goes into detail about that in the interview. I recommend you listen to it. Will they be able to stay at the Power Four level? Now, there are certain things they can do. One of the things they can do, get subsidized or partially subsidized through the university. Well, here's what he had to say about that. Arizona State has put $50 million into the athletics department on an annualized basis, okay? You pick the program. I can tell you what the number is. This is a quote from Pollard, by the way. Iowa State is zero because that's the Board of Regents policy. So basically, the Board of Regents at Iowa State will not allow the universities to subsidize athletics. That could be a problem if that doesn't change going forward. Let's continue. Here's another option. So, what would you feel as a fellow student? And this is Pollard asking this rhetorical question to the interviewer. He says, what would you feel as a fellow student if Iowa State did what Virginia Tech just did? Virginia Tech implemented a student fee that's generating close to $20 million a year. And they're going to use that fee to pay their student athletes. So what's that mean? You're raising tuition, basically. Well, Iowa State raised tuition to help pay athletics. And again, that's probably a decision that's going to have to be made at the Board of Regents level and at the president level or chancellor level, whatever they have there at Iowa State. Will they be willing to do that? It'll be very interesting to see where this goes in a couple of years when these reserves run out. What will Iowa State do? The article goes on to say it's never going to be a popular opinion when prices increase for anything. But in this case, it might be a necessary evil that the Cyclones have to deal with. ISU is so fortunate to have an athletic director of Pollard's ilk at the forefront of their department. This kind of thinking is a perfect example. With the Cyclones living in their best era of football and basketball success in the program's history, it's hard to imagine them falling into obscurity. Something Pollard and company just aren't going to let happen. So, very interesting article there from Heartland College Sports. Did a great job covering this. Kudos to those folks over there. Now, I'm going to give you my thoughts. I think Iowa State has a couple of different options here. And before I give that, though, I do want to give a shout out to another one of my sponsors, and that is the fine folks over at Elite Scuba and Adventures, based in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, or Belvoir, Virginia. I don't know if I pronounced that city right or not. But anyway, go check out Elite Scuba Adventures at elitescubaadventures.com. They do scuba lessons. They do scuba diving trips. As a matter of fact, they do open water certification. They do PADI Discover diving. They have advanced diver and specialty courses, including Dive Master certification. And they do bundle and save deals. They also host scuba trips, as I mentioned. They're doing one at Tigert Lake right here in the great state of West Virginia. They're going to Key West, Florida later in the year. And they do an annual trip to Thailand for amazing, amazing scuba diving. You can get a discount if you're a first responder or a military vet. You get 10% off. You can also get a discount if you're not one of those. You can get a 5% discount by using promo code Couz, code 25. Again, it's Couz, C-O-U-Z, code CODE 25 at checkout. You can get a 5% discount on your purchase at Elite Scuba and Adventures. So if you're into scuba diving, whether you want to learn to scuba dive, go check out the fine folks at Elite Scuba and Adventures, and I want to thank them for helping support what I do here on the channel. Now, my thoughts on this situation at Iowa State, and it ties a lot into what West Virginia's facing the same problem, folks. West Virginia and Iowa State are very, very similar in their athletic revenue, in their budget. Very, very, Iowa State, West Virginia, Kansas State are all kind of right there together in that 100 to 110 million range in athletic revenue year in, year out, right? Now, that's going to have to increase somehow over time. But Ren Baker at West Virginia has basically said that West Virginia already has a plan in place to address this $20 million annually. West Virginia is allowed to get subsidies from the university, right? There are some other things he's looking to do from a revenue perspective that may help, pay this $20 million a year, right? And we all know that private capital could end up being a way they do this as well. The Big 12 is looking at private capital partners potentially to bring in and help bring a revenue jolt, so to speak, to the league and help these schools pay this revenue sharing. That's another option. But from an individual school perspective, each school is going to have to find different things to do. And it looks like Iowa State may have some challenges ahead of themselves. When you look at the advantages or the financial jolt that the athletic department brings to the university, I think it's a no-brainer for the Board of Regents to relook at their policies and allow the university to provide a subsidy to the athletic department, right? You need to do that if you want to stay competitive. Like I said earlier, not only does it help the program, the athletic program helps the school, and it helps the local economy. So you may have to get politicians involved in this as well. Maybe the state of Iowa has to chip in and do some things to help out Iowa State, right? Maybe that's something you have to look at. The student fees. Look, if you're a student, I'm sure, and you're not a sports fan, you may not want to pay these fees. But would you rather see your school decline in notoriety, see their student enrollment decline, and see the overall value of your university decline over time because they don't have a football program or a men's basketball program playing at the highest level anymore? You don't want to see that if you're an Iowa State student. So I think Iowa State students should be willing to pay that fee. And I think at some point, Iowa State will figure out a way. Once they're out of these reserves, they're going to figure it out. Look, Jamie Pollard is too smart. He's too good of a leader. And Iowa State leadership is too smart to not figure this out. So they will figure it out. My thoughts on Jamie Pollard's comments, yes, his body language, his tone, I could sense a little bit of concern in there. But I also think it was a way for Jamie Pollard to put the word out there to his Board of Regents, to donors, and to anybody else who's a stakeholder here to say, look, we need your support. We need you to help us out here. We're facing this albatross, this challenge of the House settlement, and we need you to step in and help us out here. That's what Jamie Pollard's doing. That's what all the schools around the country are doing, right? And I think that's his message here. I don't think Iowa State's going to drop out of the Big 12. I don't think they're going to drop down to FCS or G5 or anything like that. They will figure it out, especially as long as Jamie Pollard's at the helm. I really like Jamie Pollard as an AD. He's done a fantastic job, and I expect that to continue. So that's my thoughts. I think this is a message from Jamie Pollard to his leadership, to his donors, to anybody at the university who will listen that, hey, maybe even at the state level, we need your help or we're not going to be able to do this. I think that's his message. But you let me know in the comment section. Do you think that's Jamie Pollard's message? Do you think he's trying to get the point across to the stakeholders that he needs support? He needs financial support from anywhere he can get it? Or do you think Iowa State is truly at risk of dropping out of the Big 12? And heck, are teams like West Virginia and Kansas State and others at risk of dropping out of the Big 12 in the next 2 to 3 years if they don't figure out a way to pay for this House settlement? I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. I want to give a shout out real quick to my VIP channel members of this episode: CEO of The Sofa, Tanner Tracks Premier, Bourbon Crazy, Jake T, and Cody Cutright. If you want to be a VIP member, hit join below or hit the join button over at my channel homepage beside my profile photo. There's also a link in the description box. There are perks that come along with being a member, including the random shout-outs. And if you're a club level member, which is level 2, you pay a little bit more, but you also get early access to some of my videos. That's the perk of being a club level member. And you also get a special link to my merch store. So if you ever decide to buy merch, you get a little bit bigger discount or a little bit better pricing, rather, for being a club level member. And occasionally I'll drop that link into my community tab on my page. Give another shout out to my sponsors, Katz, Gander, Stone Street, and Buckner Attorneys at Law, Elite Scuba Adventures, and of course, Appalachia Digital, the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at wvsportschat.com. Go check that out, please. Also want to remind you that I am now a member of the Rogue Sports Network. Excited to join that team at Rogue Sports Media and what the future might hold there. Will be covering the West Virginia. I am the West Virginia Mountaineer, or will be providing West Virginia Mountaineer coverage for the Rogue Sports Network, and I'm very excited about that. So there'll be more to come on that. You'll be seeing some new content and stuff like that out on the channel due to this partnership. Well, that being said, please hit the like button if you don't mind. Sometimes I forget to ask for that. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Help me get to my next big goal of 10,000. But most importantly, keep watching the channel, baby. Keep watching my content. Be sure to turn on your notifications if you want to be notified of future videos. Share it with your family and friends. Let them know about Couz's Corner. Your home for top shelf West Virginia Mountaineer and Big 12 coverage almost every single day. With that being said, I appreciate you tuning into this one. I appreciate your support. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. I hope you stay blessed and cue country roads.